Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 19th April 2022. So let's get started with our discussion and let us try to see today's quote. So today's quote is, an early morning walk is a blessing for the whole day. So in this UPSC preparation, you have to make a habit of some physical work, like physical exercises. At least do a walking for 5 to 10 minutes a day in the early morning, such that it will be giving you some positive attitude in that day. So this positive attitudes will be increasing your focus on that day. Okay, so try to make just early morning walk at least like 5 to 10 minutes every day, and this will be very helpful, and even that will be helpful for your health as well. And now let us try to see first topic. It is regarding India-Russia relations, and we are going to talk about India can criticize Russia's Ukraine invasion. So this topic is important from your GS, that is General Studies paper 2, which mainly comes under our international relations, and this topic is important from your mains, not from your prelims. So now let us try to understand this article in a great detail. So to understand this article, first we need to see this central theme of this article. So central theme says that it is possible for government to express its criticism while maintaining an independent stand on unilateral sanctions. So why we are mainly going for this fearing of unilateral sanctions? Because whenever we are going to get this Russian oil, and as well as whenever we are going to get this S-400 missile system, so we are mainly having some fear of USA and US allied countries. They are going to impose sanctions on India, for example under this CAATSA, countering of American adversaries through Sanction Act. Okay, so here it is possible for the government to express its criticism while maintaining an independent stand on unilateral sanctions. Okay, so even though if you are having some independent stand on unilateral sanctions, yes, on the other side we can go for criticism. So this is the thing which mainly said by author. So now let us try to talk about Russia's Ukraine invasion. As you all know, Russia-Ukraine war, which is mainly going on, it is more than 50 days of this war, and it is nearly 2 months, right? So Russia mainly attacked this Ukraine. So why? Because Ukraine want to join this NATO. So NATO, it is a military alliance of US. During the post-Cold War, that is after 1960s and during 1960s, there were two power blocks that mainly formed, right? So during this Cold War, US on one side and USSR on another side. And USA, which mainly came up with a military alliance called as NATO, and USSR, which mainly came up with Warsaw Pact. So here many countries of European countries, they mainly joined this USS military alliance, that is NATO, and already Ukraine also want to join this NATO. So whenever Ukraine is joining this NATO means, then what happens? So it is NATO forces will come and they will be standing across this Ukraine-Russia border, and it will be some threat for this Russia. So because of this, Russia do not want this Ukraine to join this NATO. So this is some brief background. So what happened if you are talking about unilateral sanctions? How we can go for criticism of those unilateral sanctions? By being independent stand. So this is our topic. So here, just 4 years ago in June 2018, US President sent his ambassador to United Nations on sensitive mission to New Delhi. So that time, this ambassador mainly met our Prime Minister, that is Modi ji, and he mainly convinced our government to drop oil imports from Iran. So they mainly convinced our government to drop oil imports from Iran, or if we are not going for decreasing of our imports means, yes, we have to face US sanctions. Okay, so in this context, India must rethink its ties probably, and finally we came up with the decreasing of our oil imports from Iran finally. So after this meeting, so Indian government, that is India's petroleum ministry, asked refineries to cut down their imports from Iran, and after few months after this, when this American deadline has been expired, so at that time our government of India announced that yes, we made our imports from Iran, that is zero. So we zeroed out imports of oil from Iran, right? So what happened, so if you're talking about Iran, Iran is one of the important supplier of crude oil for India, and it is the third biggest supplier of crude oil because it is very much near and the transportation cost is also very less. Right, but now in 2022, US, which is again pressuring India to cut oil imports from Russia. So Russia offered discount for India for this oil, and we are getting oil from this Russia now. So now again US, which mainly want India to cut imports of oil from Russia. Okay, and it is also said that we need to zero out, or we need to come down, bring down our imports of oil from Russia, that is to be zero. So we need to zero out oil purchase from the Russia, and we should not accelerate the increasing of imports of Russian oil. Okay, and even US President Joe Biden, he asked Modi during the virtual summit, and US Secretary of State, okay, that is Antony Blinken, during this 2+2 ministerial meeting that held recently in Washington, and even other Indian American emissary also mainly focused on this to decrease Russian oil imports to zero. So the pressure is likely to increase in the coming weeks because we are going to have more engagements which mainly planned by our Prime Minister with European leaders. Okay, and we are also going to have a visit to Germany and as well as France for bilateral meetings. So in these areas also, so this pressure, it is going to be increased. So despite the talks with the leaders from US, Japan, Australia, each of whom mainly criticized Russia in their summit remarks, but India's ministry, that is External Affairs Ministry, has not allowed any direct mention of Russia in respect of these joint statements. But what happened in March and April, India has brought more Russian oil at a very discount prices. Now we are also going forward to increase coal imports from this Russia as well. And if we are talking about some imports from Russia, we are also going to have this S-400 missile delivery system. Okay, so we are going to have this delivery of this missile, that is S-400 missile from Russia here. So here, because of this, we are going to have some pressure from the other countries regarding this imports from this Russia. So even we are mainly talking about this rupee ruble payment mechanism as well, because Russia, which is mainly banned out of this SWIFT payment system, and if you want to go and get some imports from this Russia, means now we need to go for alternative. So here, because of this, RBI officials, they held meeting with Reserve Bank of India, sorry, Russian bank officials. They mainly made some meetings with this RBI, and they mainly focused on talks regarding this rupee ruble payment mechanism. So if we are talking about sustainability here, so while most analysis of India's stance deal with its past relationship with Russia, okay, includes Soviet Union, and if you are talking about our government of India had some perceptions of its future challenges regarding defense and energy procurements, global economic trends, and even continental border challenges, and especially with this China, we are having some issues, right? So these are some future challenges that we are mainly also thinking about. So India's defense hardware mainly dependent on Russia here, because we are going to get most of our defense equipment from Russia. It is more than 60%, and even spare parts, for the spare parts also we are mainly dependent on Russia. It is about 85%. So these could offset with more purchases from US, and as well as the procurement of the spares from the Commonwealth, that is UK. Okay, so from UK and as well as from US, we can get our offset. So this is one choice, that is alternative, that is present. So what will be the harder it is to replace here is technology transfer. So whenever we are going for purchasing of our defense equipment from USA, and as well as for spare parts, when we are going for purchasing from this UK, we are not going to get the transfer of technology, and export capabilities like BrahMos missile we are not going to get. Okay, and next one is government mainly seeks for more domestic production. So this will be not achieved when we are going for getting off our equipment from US and as well as UK. And even if you are talking about energy dependence, India, it is more dependent on Russia, and if you see the percentage of oil that we are getting, so that is just 2% of energy that we are getting from Russia. Okay, and we are mainly going for increasing of this imports from this Russia, because Ural variety of oil which mainly contains high sulfur content here. So it is worth remembering that Indian oil public sector units, they have even invested $16 billion in the Russian oil and as well as gas in this eastern Russian region. So in the eastern Russian part, it is less developed compared to that of this western part, and in this part here there is investment of Indian investments that is mainly seen. It is about $16 billion in energy sector. So not only this, even in the renewable energy also, India signed civil nuclear deal with a number of countries. For example, US, France. Okay, so here we can talk about nuclear power plants. For example, Kudankulam, which is located in Tamil Nadu, which mainly built with the help of Russia. So here, because of this, there is a serious future analysis that need to be done here. So we need to go for analyzing of challenges that we are going to have ahead. Okay, we need to talk about global economic sanctions and what types of sanctions will be imposed by this Western bloc like that. So Indian continental predicament with its primary threats on its north frontier from China and Pakistan. So we're talking about India's location. Here we have Pakistan, here we have China. So from Pakistan and China, we are having a threat here. So because of this, we need help of Russia mainly on one side. And in the past 2 years, we are seeing military standoff that is happening at this line of actual control. So here Moscow has stepped into this issue, and it also facilitated talks between India and China, and that led to partial disengagement in this region. So here what government fails to explain here is why any of these reasons prevent from criticizing Russia for what is quite obviously a brutal invasion by one country on another country. So what happened in 2003 also? So what happened, there was a despite growing of partnership with US, that was finally turning into a corner after nuclear test. So at that time, what happened, even when we went for this nuclear test, so what are the relationship that we had with US, it was not much changed. Okay, so this is about this topic. And now let us try to see next topic. It is regarding Sri Lankan lessons for India. So what can be the lessons that we can take from Sri Lanka? So this topic is very important. So if you see what is the central theme, so India must set up domestic production of oil seeds to renewable energy and defense equipment. So we need to focus on domestic production. We should not depend much on other countries for the trade, for the imports especially. So this is about this topic, and now let us try to understand this topic in a very great detail. So if you are talking about this, so already we know that Sri Lanka, which is facing economic crisis, and it is now asking for humanitarian assistance for a number of countries, and India also started helping this Sri Lanka, right? So if you're talking about Sri Lanka, in Sri Lanka a significant number of Tamils are also present, and these Tamils, they were significant in different professions, and the country also experienced a loss of expertise in almost all spheres. So actually, when what happened from this Tamil Nadu, so many number of Tamilians, they mainly migrated to Sri Lanka. So because of this, what happened here, we can say like Tamilians, they are mainly lost to India because they are expertise in some special professions, right? So this is a loss for India, and there is also impact of loss of technical expertise that is seen for our economy. Economy is low and often indiscernible, but sure to affect it adversely, which is mainly happening in India. So whenever Indian experts are mainly moving to other countries, means it will be a loss for our country, loss for our economy. So this is the meaning of this statement. And the civil war is also likely to have held back investment. While all uncertainty stalls investments, private investors would be particularly reluctant to commit their money in a time of near anarchy. So what happened? So as we all know, in Sri Lanka, the civil war like situations will be going on between Sinhalese and as well as Tamilians. So because of this civil war like situation, that is mainly having some negative impact on investment, negative impact on private investors, etc. A state pursuing a civil war can hardly make up for this through public investment, and as it is bound to be severely fund constrained due to military operations. So what happened because of this civil war like conditions, it is mainly affecting even public investment as well, and it is also severely affecting the funds, of that country because of increasing of this military operations and military expenditure. So we have a first cautionary tale from the Sri Lanka for India. The first important thing it is regarding economic on the surface but the stem from the political strife. So whenever there is clashes that is happening between the political parties, that is also having some negative impacts on the economy. And next important thing here is we need to also talk about identity politics. Okay, so identity politics between the social groups are also leading to an economic disaster. So whenever there is a strife, that is clashes between the center and as well as state, and because of religious communities, then that will also deter the investment in that state, and that will also have some negative impact on the ease of doing business. Whenever we are having a low ranking in this ease of doing business, we are not going to get proper investments. So if there is no proper investment, there will be no development. If there is no development, there is no economic growth of that state. Okay, so the exit of some high net worth Indians from the country and the outflow of foreign direct investment, they are the examples of this event. And if we are talking about political economic reasons here, the first lesson we can learn from this Sri Lanka here is how politics can affect the economy, and second one, we need to know about how flawed economic policy have a negative impact on that economic prospects. So these are the two important things. The first one here is how politics can affect this economy of the country, and next one is what is the impact of this flawed economic policy on the economy of that country. So the country first came into world's reckoning in 1950s when its economic policy was lauded for welfare programs that included subsidized rice, but everyone was not impressed by this move at that time. And if you see in Sri Lanka, distributism seems to have run ahead of what could be guaranteed from the domestic resources. Okay, so they mainly came with a concept called as produce or perish from the country's past political hustings. And if you're talking about India's economy, so as India's economy has grown, so many of the states, they have stepped up their welfare spending, and some have distributed bicycles for girls and even other televisions to families, etc. So while there is no form of welfare need to be precluded in the principle, but the public finances are subjected to an accounting constraint here. So whenever we are having revenues which are very limited, so whenever we want to go for the welfare schemes here, so we need to ensure that that welfare scheme expenditure should not be beyond the whatever the revenues we are getting. So if we want to give some welfare for the people, for that means when we cannot go for borrowing from the other countries or the other states, and we can give to the people. Okay, so when the revenues are limited, free bicycles, television sets, crowding out of spending on measures that increases the economy productivity capacity. So rather than investing in this providing of free bicycles, television set, so we can focus on endowment of schools, that is improvement of schools, hospital infrastructure, so that are very, very important for the public. Right, so there is also an ethical issue to be faced, that when welfareism is financed by borrowing rather than taxes, then the future generations, they are going to pay for our consumption. So we are mainly increasing the burden on our future generation. Okay, and the next lesson that we can learn from this Sri Lanka here, it is not to treat openness to the world's economy as a panacea. So in 1970s, in a switch from outwardly socialist economic policies, Sri Lanka came up with the liberalization of this trade and capital flows. Okay, so this is about some important lessons that we can learn here. So Sri Lanka case, which mainly shows us why it can be damaging for a country to rely on the trade for its essential consumption goods. So here Sri Lanka says that, so Sri Lanka's case shows that it can be damaging for the country on relying on the trade for its essential consumption goods. So whatever the essential consumption goods are important for the people, they need to go for domestic production, but they should not depend upon the other countries, because that will be depleting the forex reserves of that country. And here the states of India also facing some deficit of food. Okay, we are getting some oil seeds from the other countries. So this article says that, so we need to focus on this food producing sector, and we need to go for domestication, and we need to go for production of oil seeds to renewable energy and as well as defense equipment. So this will be very, very important for any country. And next article it is about consensus key for education. So this article which is mainly talking about education. So education, which is a direct topic in our syllabus under GS paper 2. So there is a one topic called as education. So we need to talk about this topic, and it is a very, very important topic. So now let us try to see what is this article talking about. The Tamil Nadu government, which is mainly constituting a draft, draft own state education policy. It is mainly coming up with its own state's education policy, and it may be having or posing a challenge to this national education policy. Okay, so this own state education policy is having a threat to this national education policy. So this is the one important cause of concern which is mainly said by author. So as you all know, whenever any state which is coming up with its own policy, so this may guide them to give effect to the national education policy in a considered well throughout manner. Okay, so for example, at the state level, at district level, at block level, even at a village level, and even at a school level, we need to have a meaningful implementation of national policy. And if you want to achieve that national policy, yes, demands will be very much diversified. For example, if you're talking about so and so district here, so it is mainly dominated by tribal people, means we need to go for teaching, or education should be taught in a basic language that can be understood by those tribals. If you see some area, if you see some village or some district where the high class people are there and where the education levels are high or literacy levels are high, means we can go for education through done by the English language. So if you are going for this English language education in this tribal area, means what happened? So there will be the zero result that can be seen here. So based on that, yes, at the state level, at the block level, at district level, and at even the village level, or even at the school to school level, we need to focus on proper implementation of this national policy. Right. And if you're talking about aspirational district program, that mainly shows the possibilities of local meshing with the whole. So these are some important concerns which are mainly raised by the state, that regarding the third language. Third language, especially for the downtrodden sections, and if you're talking about weaker sections. So whenever we are imposing this language, means it is not at all giving the results, but it will be having some misgivings, and as well as it will be resulting some negative impact as well. So even though this National Education Policy 2020, which mainly claimed to be culmination of largest public consultation in policy history, the process of consultation and curating the mass contributions being very much new, and they lacked the clear articulation of outcomes and evolution of the policy. So through this National Education Policy 2020, which mainly claimed to culmination of largest public consultation in the policy history and the process of consultation curating the mass contribution, they are mainly new, and they lacked the clear articulation of outcomes and evolution of the policy. And the final draft of this policy wasn't discussed and deliberated in this Central Advisory Board of Education. It is one cause of concern. Actually, the Central Advisory Board of Education, which mainly chaired by Union Education Minister and with the Minister of Education of all the states and educationalists as its members here. So this committee, which mainly helps to provide some effective way for key stakeholders, it will be helpful for expressing of their views, and it will be also expressing their views regarding evolving a national education policy rather than the central government alone. So this consultation, which has been deemed very much essential for building purpose, and even regarding this context-led policies, deeper policy engagement, that will be ensuring alignment along the policy as well. And there will inevitably be differences between the education policies. They are made devised for the nation, for a state, for a district, for a school. Each level has some distinct purposes. So there will be always a regional priorities will be there, and the constraints which are mainly compelling the states to serve education in a different way. So this is only means that national and state policies, they need to supplement each other. So what are the policies in the state and what are the policies in the center? They need to supplement each other, because education being in a concurrent list. So if we are talking about Schedule 7, we will be having list 1, list 2, list 3. We have union list, state list and concurrent list. So in this concurrent list, both the state and as well as center which have the power to make the laws. So actually this education which is mainly being in the concurrent list since 1976 onwards. So it is a joint and shared responsibility of both central and as well as state governments. So we need coordination and we need maintenance of standards here in this education. So if we're talking about what are the alarming changes, so many changes in this education system, particularly in this higher education, which is mainly introduced before and after the policy, may have alarmed the states. For example, you can talk about CUET, that is Common University Entrance Test. Okay, so it is a first step which is mainly taken by the government because it is mainly focusing on one nation, one examination system here. Right, so after conducting of this CUET also, here universities, they gave a choice that they can also take into the consideration of this score, or if they don't want, they cannot. So not only this, even we have this NEET. Okay, NEET, it is a national eligibility test which is mandatory exam for the admissions into medical colleges, is yet another example for this. And states like, for example, Tamil Nadu feel that centralized admission test caused monetary burden and inconvenience for the students, so we are not going to have this NEET. So even in the case of IIT JEE exams, 59% of admissions, they are mainly coming from the students who had studied from the CBSE board. Okay, so because of this, here many poor, we can see in some schools we are mainly going for the state syllabus. So there is a less number of chances to clear this IIT who are mainly studying from the state syllabus. Right, so because of this, we can see from the state examinations and from the CBSE, there is a lot of difference in the examination mode here. So because of this, we need to have a proper policy engagement and we need to go for proper implementation of policy here. So this will be helpful to mainly mitigate the trust deficit. If some states mainly feel that they are falling behind, this is an opportunity to move forward for better education, better quality education. So this is about this topic, and now let us try to see next topic. It is regarding cryptocurrency and central banks digital currency. So here we need to focus on what is a central bank's digital currency. So this is important from your economy point of view, which mainly comes in the GS paper 3. So what are the things which is important from UPSC we are going to discuss now. So why this central bank's digital currency is in news? So recently our RBI, that is central bank, which mainly proposed amendments to this RBI Act of 1934. So why amendments? So this will be helpful to launch central bank's digital currency, and this will be mainly helpful for enhancing or increasing the scope of definition of bank note, and we are going to include currency in the digital format. So if we are talking about the central bank's digital currency, it is a digital form of fiat currency. So what is a fiat currency? So fiat currency means nothing but it is a legal tender of that country. Okay. So which can be transacted using wallets, which is mainly backed up by blockchain technology, and it is also come under regulations of central bank here. So it is a legal tender which mainly issued by the central bank, and this will be issued in a digital format. Right. So fiat money, it is a government issued currency that is not backed by any commodity such as gold. It is like a legal tender. Okay, so fiat money gives central banks greater control over the economy because they will come under the regulations of those RBI. And next one is, through the concept of the central bank's digital currency, it was directly inspired by Bitcoin. So it is different from the decentralized virtual currencies and crypto assets. So if we're talking about why we need this digital currency, the first one here is we need to address the malpractices. First one here is we need to address the malpractices. There is a need for the sovereign digital currency arises from the anarchic design of existing cryptocurrencies. Now there is an increase in the use of this cryptocurrency that is mainly seen. So because of this, here we need to have a sovereign digital currency that will be helpful mainly to decrease the malpractices that are mainly happening through these cryptocurrencies. And we need to address volatility in the market. So when we are using this cryptocurrency means, so it's based on the mainly the demand and supply in the market. So based on the demand and supply, the price will be mainly changed. So because of this, that will be having high rate of volatility. To decrease this volatility, we need this central bank's digital currency. And next one is digital currency proxy war. So India mainly runs the risk of being caught up in the whirlwind of proxy digital currency. So proxy digital currency war that is happening between this US and as well as China. So mainly to cut this, so we need to go for this adoption of the central bank's digital currency. and we need to go for reducing of dependency on dollar. So whenever we are having this digital rupee, it mainly provides an opportunity for India to establish the dominance of digital rupee, okay, which is mainly superior currency for the trade. And next one is advent of private currency. So if these private currencies gains recognition, for example bitcoins like that, the national currencies they will be having the limited convertibility. So because of this we need to come up with this digital currency. So what is the significance? So first one is whenever we are having this digital currency, that will be helpful for the decreasing or reducing the cost of currency management, and it will be also already India, it is mainly having high currency to GDP ratio, so that it will be also very much helpful for this central bank's digital currency to extend a large scale usage that can be replaced by this central bank's digital currency. And the cost of printing of money, transporting and storing, it is mainly the cost will be reduced. And next one is to be also minimizing the damage to the public, okay, because whenever we are going for this private virtual currencies, it will be having some negative impact, but it will be not the case whenever we are using this central bank's digital currency. And it will be also enables the user to conduct both domestic and as well as cross-border transactions as well. And this will be also helpful to provide significant benefits such as reducing the dependency on cash, and it will be also helpful for decreasing of transaction cost and reduce settlement risk, etc. And it will be also more robust, efficient, trusted and regulated and legal tender based payment option. So these will be the significance. And now let us try to the next topic. It is regarding wholesale price inflation. Title says wholesale price inflation climbs to 14.5% in March. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that inflation in India's wholesale price, which is like a 4-month high. Okay, now in this month we can see there is a wholesale price which is 4-month high. It reached to 14.55% in month of March, but earlier in February it was like 13.11 and now it increased to 14.55. So why? Because of increasing of prices of goods with, for example, fuel, power and primary articles, etc. So because of this there is increasing of price of this wholesale price mainly increased. So if we're talking about what is this wholesale price index, so it mainly measures the changes in the price of the goods which are mainly sold and traded in a bulk by wholesalers. Okay, and this mainly published by Office of Economic Advisor, which mainly comes from the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So it is the most widely used inflation indicator in India. Okay, actually if you are talking about the base year, it is like 2011 to 2012. So earlier it was 2004 to 2005. It mainly updated to 2011 to 2012 in 2017. So actually regarding this, one question which appeared in this 2010 UPSC prelims here is, with reference to India, consider the following statements. Wholesale price index in India is available only on a monthly basis, not at all. And as compared to that of consumer price index for industrial and workers, WPI gives less weight to food articles. Yes, so that option will be B2 only. So in this way you can expect a question. And next topic is regarding Guru Tej Bahadur's birth anniversary fete at Red Fort. So here we are mainly celebrating 400th birth anniversary of this Guru Tej Bahadur. So we have to know some facts regarding this Guru Tej Bahadur. He mainly comes from Sikhism. So now let us try to see the context. So government will celebrate this 400th birth anniversary of this Guru Tej Bahadur with a 2-day event at Red Fort starting Wednesday. And also they are going to release commemorate postage stamp and coin. So this is the thing which mainly said by our Union Culture Minister. So our Union Culture Minister, he mainly announced that we are going to celebrate this 40th birth anniversary of this Guru Tej Bahadur with a 2-day event at Red Fort. And on this event they are also going to release postage stamp and as well as coins, okay, of this Guru Tej Bahadur. So if you are talking about some facts regarding this Guru Tej Bahadur, so he was the 9th Sikh Guru, okay. So he often venerated as a protector of humanity and he was known as a great teacher. And Guru Tej Bahadur was also an excellent warrior, thinker and as well as poet. And he wrote detailed descriptions of the nature of God, mind, body, physical attachment, among other things as well. So his writings are housed in a sacred text, that is Guru Granth Sahib, which mainly contains 116 poetic hymns. And he also well known for the traveler, and he mainly played an important role in setting up of preaching centers throughout the Indian subcontinent. Okay, and he also mainly came up with one such mission called as Chak Nanki in Punjab. And in year 1965, this Guru Tej Bahadur was executed in Delhi under the orders of Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. So this is very important fact. And now let us try to see today's questions. First one is Mansabdars. Mansabdars were integral part of this Mughal bureaucracy. Mansab denoted as the status of its holder, yes. Fixed pay of holder, yes. Obligation of maintaining a special number of consignments with horses and equipment, yes. So here you need to identify the correct answer, that is all the above. And the next question is regarding temple architecture. So which of the following major works deal with temple architecture? That is Mayamata, Mansara, and Shilparatna, and Kashyapa Shilpa. So here Shilparatna, which mainly talks about these all things which are related to this temple architecture. So all of the above is the correct answer. And today's questions are made. First one, it is regarding Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Second question is regarding Ramanujacharya. So try to read these statements and give me the correct option in the comment box. So before seeing today's newspaper PDF, I want to announce this means answer writing practice course that we came up in this Rathod's IES. So if you want to register, so please call us on this number 8074765513 for any queries regarding this course. So the detailed schedule of this course is given in the description box. So if you want, you can download it and you can see the schedule, how it is going on. So there will be daily one question will be given, and there will be evaluation of your answer, 1-to-1 mentorship, and model answer will also be given. And the cost is also very affordable. It is like 7,200 rupees for 1 year. So if you have any queries, so please call or text on this number, that is 8074765513. And we are also ready to launch this pen drive courses of entire foundation course of 2023. So this will be absolutely useful. So please try to join this as well. So if you have any queries, please contact us on this number. And now let us try to see today's Hindu newspaper PDF. So this is our today's Hindu date. Here is April 19th and this is Delhi edition. So first article, that is regarding wholesale price inflation. We discussed this topic, right? And if you move forward, here you can see ED attached Amway India's rupees 757 crore asset. So here you need to know about the functions of this ED. So you have to know about this FEMA, and you have to know about this Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So these are the two important laws that are mainly focused by this ED, that is Enforcement Directorate. So I think yesterday or day before yesterday we discussed about article regarding this ED in Hindu analysis. So please try to revise that topic once. So leave the city page and leave this page and you can move on to state page. So here in the state page you have to know about governor not forwarding NEET bill to president and insult to Tamil Nadu citizens. This is the thing which mainly said by CM. Okay, CM of this Tamil Nadu says that governor is not forwarding this NEET bill. So here you need to know about what is the NEET bill, and you have to know about what are the discretionary powers of governor in regarding the passage of bill. So that is very important here. And now if you see here, this small article you can see noted Odia singer Prafulla Kar passes away. So if you are from Odisha, here you have to know about the great personalities in your state and who mainly passes away, and you have to know about so their contributions to our Indian society as well. So this might be your interview question. And if you move forward, you can come to this editorial page. I discussed about this Russia-Ukraine relation. I discussed about this CBDC. And in this op-ed page, I discussed regarding this Sri Lanka lessons and as well as education article. And here there is a data point. So here in this data point, you can see so which items drove up inflation in this 2022. Right, so here first article we discussed about increasing of wholesale price inflation. So not only this wholesale price but also India's retail price inflation is also very much high. So especially the prices of groundnut oil, refined oil, cereals like wheat, jowar, bajra, vegetables, cooking oil, which mainly increased. Okay, so because of this we are seeing there is retail price inflation. So this is some introduction. So if you want, you can read this entire thing. So there is nothing much important in our text and context. So there is one article regarding understanding additional airbags mandate for vehicles. So airbags are mainly, they are like lifesavers during the accident. So here this article says that not only the airbags in the front seats, but also in the next seats, in the back seats also we need this additional airbags. So this is the thing which mainly said here. So regarding these airbags, government has proposed the installation of 6 airbags. So we need 6 airbags in all passenger vehicles to enhance the safety of vehicle occupants. So the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways explained that these airbags would be deployed to the seats or on the sides, okay, at a stipulated position inside the vehicle, right? So that will be helpful to mitigate the injuries in this torso region or ejection of this occupant from the vehicle. So this automobile market analyst who mainly said that installing of additional airbags in the vehicles, that would increase the cost by 17 to 18,000 rupees. So this is the thing which mainly said by this article, and you can leave this article, it is not much important. And if you see in this news page, there is nothing much important. And if you move forward, in this page, you can see this Gurudevs Bahadur birth anniversary. I discussed this topic, and Meghalaya Council, which mainly opposes this border deal. So you can also refer this article. And if you come to this world page here, you can see Iran blames US for the delaying of this nuclear deal. So it is mainly talking about Iran's nuclear deal or JCPOA. So Iran on Monday, which mainly said that agreement with the world powers, that is P5+1. Which mainly it is also called as Iran's nuclear deal of 2015. So US, which is mainly delaying this Iran's nuclear deal. So this is the thing which mainly blamed by this Iran. So here in this business page, you can see Chinese Q1 GDP tops forecast, expanded 4.8%. So Chinese economy had been slowed in the month of March as consumption and real estate and exports had hit a hard. But now we are seeing there is a increasing of growth numbers in this Chinese Q1, that is mainly seen here. Okay, so this is about this topic, and these are some important articles that appear in this today's newspaper. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to Rathod's IS Academy, and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos, and don't forget to join this mains answer writing course. So if you have any queries, you can call on this number 8074765513. This is also the WhatsApp number. You can also message me on this number. So by this I'm concluding. Thank you so much.